So, diving right in, you shared a pretty powerful poem with us for today's deep dive.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, like, it kind of throws you into the sense of despair, right? So it says, wanders a man without aim or direction. Encountering danger, he cowers and questions. Why must I face these perilous times? Life is just vanity and filled with hopeless cries. So try not to climb the mountain, he says, for there is no purpose, so just lay here instead.
Wow.
So on the surface, it's a pretty stark look at a life that's just kind of drifting, no clear direction. But we're not going to just like stop there.
Right.
We want to dig deeper. We want to explore how this seeming hopelessness can actually like be a starting point, a launching pad even for finding like real purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. And that initial image of just kind of like wandering around, aimlessly and then cowering when challenges come up, that it really does create this sense of like unease.
Yeah.
Like you can almost feel that lack of motivation sort of like hanging in the air.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel that way? Like, have you had those moments where you're just kind of like, what's the point?
Oh, for sure. I think everyone has those moments, right, where you just question everything.
Right.
And that's where I think this poem gets really interesting because, okay, it tells you to not climb the mountain, right? It says there's no purpose, so just give up, lay down.
Yeah.
But what if it's that very, like, giving up, the not climbing that actually leads to the emptiness? What if the real, the real joy, the substance actually comes from that struggle of the climb?
I think you're right. Yeah. And it makes me think about like, you see people sometimes who are constantly bouncing from job to job.
Yeah.
Or they're picking up a new hobby every other week and then dropping it just as quickly.
Yeah.
And I think those people probably feel that sense of meaninglessness quite a bit because there's no central goal. There's nothing really anchoring them.
Yeah. Right. And so when the poem says there is no purpose, so just lay here instead, it's almost like it's showing you the result of not having that purpose. It's like, look, if you don't climb, if you don't seek, this is where you end up, and maybe it's that very act of striving, of actually like pushing yourself to face those challenges on the mountain. That's where we find the meaning.
That's a great point. And I think that kind of dissatisfaction that the poem talks about, that feeling of emptiness,
right?
That could be the very thing that motivates you to look for something more, to search for something beyond just, your immediate self.
Right.
Something that feels real and true and that really resonates with something bigger than yourself.
Okay, so let's break down that idea of like a purpose that's outside of ourselves and grounded in like truth.
You're right.
It's not just about chasing whatever feels good right now, right?
Exactly.
It's about connecting to something like bigger, more enduring. And I think that's what's so powerful about this poem. It starts off feeling super bleak, but really it might be highlighting that need we all have for meaning and purpose, and it's pushing us to go find it.
Absolutely. And I think that contrast between that initial despair and the potential for like real fulfillment really highlights that, striving for something, pursuing a meaningful path.
Right.
That's where real joy is.
So think about it, as you're listening, think about that man in the poem. If he represents like a life without that self-discovered purpose, something rooted in truth.
Yeah.
What does your mountain look like? What's that thing you need to climb?
Right.
And what are like the first steps you can take? To start that journey and look beyond just yourself. Look for that deeper truth that can guide you.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Worth thinking about.